Every stone in this video has a twin. Same color, same look in the case, sometimes the same sparkle. And a price gap of 10 times, 50 times, in one pair, several hundred times. The mistake runs in both directions, and both of them cost real money. Sometimes you pay emerald money for a piece of quartz. And sometimes a family sells a stone rarer than ruby for the price of a garnet, because nobody in the room knew what they were looking at. So today, 10 stones that are commonly mistaken for something far more expensive, counting up to a mistake that sat in a royal crown for 500 years. For every pair, I will give you the 10-second test that separates them. And one single optical trick, which I will show you near the end, separates 3 of these pairs entirely on its own. Let us count them down. Number 10, Howlite, mistaken for turquoise. We start with the training pair, because this is the most manufactured mistake on the entire list. Howlite is a naturally white stone with gray veining, soft, cheap, and it takes dye beautifully. Dye it blue, and it becomes the single most common turquoise imitation on Earth. We flagged it in the video about chain stores, and here is the 10-second version of the test. Real turquoise has a matrix, that web of dark veining, and nature does not repeat itself. The veins vary in thickness, in color, in direction, across every millimeter. Dyed howlite shows veining that is even too gray, too regular, like somebody drew it on. Then look at the drill holes and the edges, because dye concentrates where the surface was broken, and a deeper ring of color around a hole is the dye admitting what it is. 10 seconds, a loop, and the most common fake in the bead world gives itself up. Number 9. Citrine sold under Topaz's name for an entire century. This one is not a lookalike problem. It is a stolen identity, and the theft was so successful that half the topaz in old jewelry boxes is not topaz. Citrine is yellow quartz, one of the most affordable gemstones there is, and most of the commercial citrine on the market started life as amethyst and was simply heated until it turned golden. For about 100 years, the trade sold it under names like Madeira topaz and smoky topaz, because topaz sounded expensive and quartz did not. So the 10-second test here is not optical, it is reading. If a tag or an old receipt says smoky topaz, Madeira topaz, or topaz quartz, you are looking at citrine, and the name itself is the confession. Real topaz does exist in yellows and oranges, and the fine imperial material is genuinely expensive, but it is a different mineral, noticeably more brilliant, and it carries a hidden weakness citrine does not have, a perfect cleavage plane that can split from a sharp knock. Same color, different mineral, and a century of paperwork designed to blur the two. Number 8. Moonstone, mistaken for opal. A pale, milky stone with something glowing inside it. Half the world calls every such stone an opal, and the price difference makes that an expensive habit. Here is the 10-second test, and it is about how the glow behaves. Moonstone produces adulorescence, one soft, billowy sheen, usually blue or white, that glides across the stone as you tilt it, like light moving under frosted glass. It is one glow, and it travels. Opal produces play of color, which is completely different. Not one sheen, but patches, multiple colors, red, green, blue, orange, flashing on and off from inside the stone as the angle changes. They do not glide. They switch. One light that moves means moonstone. Many colors that switch means opal. 10 seconds, no equipment, and you will never confuse them again. Number 7. Prasiolite, sold as green amethyst, priced like a small emerald. Remember the oven that turns amethyst into citrine? The same oven makes this one. Prasiolite is green quartz, and almost all of it is amethyst that was heat treated until it turned a pale sage green. It is a perfectly honest stone at quartz prices. The trouble is the names it travels under. Green amethyst, which regulators consider misleading, and worse, its habit of sitting in mall jewelry next to the word emerald at a markup that quartz has never deserved. The 10-second test is a triangle of 3 observations. The color, because Prasiolite is a soft, pale, cool green, nothing like emerald's saturated depth. The clarity, because Prasiolite is glassy clean, while a natural emerald almost always carries its garden of internal inclusions. And the price, because a large, flawless, vivid green stone at a friendly price is answering your question for you. Too clean, too pale, too cheap. That triangle spells quartz. If these tests are already sharpening your eye, subscribe, because from here the mistakes start running in the other direction, where the expensive stone gets sold cheap, and that is where money gets left on tables. Number 6. Tsavorite, the emerald rival nobody prices correctly. Now the first stone on this list that deserves to be mistaken for something more expensive, because in several ways it is the better stone. Tsavorite is green garnet, discovered in 1967 near the Tsavo region of East Africa and put on the map by Tiffany in the 70s. Set next to an emerald, a fine tsavorite is often brighter, because garnet carries a higher refractive index. It is cleaner, because it does not grow with emerald's internal garden. It is tougher, because it has no cleavage. And it is almost always completely untreated, while virtually every emerald on the market has been oiled or filled, which we covered in the chain store video. Fine emerald still trades at multiples of Tsavorite per carat, and that gap is history and marketing, not performance. The 10-second test runs through the loop. Look inside. An emerald almost always shows its jardine, the soft internal garden of veils and inclusions. A Tsavorite of the same green looks crisp and clean inside, with a sharper, snappier brilliance. Clean interior, sharp fire, vivid green. That is the garnet, and if the tag prices it like glass, somebody upstream made your day. Number 5. Demantoid, the garnet that was mistaken for peridot by the children who found it. We told this story in the Vintage Rings video, so here it is in one breath. 1853, the Bobrovka River in the Urals. Children collecting green pebbles everyone assumed were peridot. They were a new garnet, Demantoid, and it became one of the darlings of the Belle Epoque. Here is why the mistake still costs people money today. Demantoid has dispersion higher than a diamond, which means more fire, more rainbow flashing than a diamond of the same size. Peridot has almost none. Yet small green stones and antique pieces get written down as peridot constantly, because peridot is the famous green stone of that size. 2 10-second tests. First, the fire. Tilt the stone under a point of light. Peridot gives you an oily, even yellowish green with no rainbow. Demantoid throws colored sparks. Second, the loop, and this is the beautiful one. Look for the horsetail, a spray of fine golden fibers radiating from a point inside, the signature inclusion of Russian Demantoid. Nothing else has it. It proves natural origin, and it raises the value instead of lowering it, a flaw that works like a certificate. Number 4, Tanzanite, mistaken for sapphire, and it carries a built-in confession. Tanzanite comes out of one single area on Earth, in Tanzania, and when it launched, it was sold openly as an affordable alternative to blue sapphire. Decades later, the two still get confused in both directions, in estate lots, in pawn cases, in inherited boxes. The 10-second test is my favorite in this whole video, because the stone literally tells you its name if you walk it across a room. Tanzanite is strongly pleochroic, and under warm indoor light it leans violet, then shifts toward blue in daylight. Take the stone from the lamp to the window. If the color moves from violet toward blue, it is Tanzanite. A sapphire holds its blue and does not care what the light is doing. And one warning that matters if the answer is Tanzanite. It sits around 6.5 to 7 in hardness with a cleavage plane, so a hard knock can genuinely split it, which is why it lives best in pendants and earrings rather than daily rings. A sapphire, at 9, shrugs off the same life, same color in the case, completely different survival. Number 3, white sapphire, mistaken for diamond, and the fire gives it away. A colorless stone in a solitaire setting. Everyone's brain says diamond. Here's how to know in 10 seconds that it is not. Watch the color of the sparkle. A diamond has enormous dispersion, so when it catches a point of light, it throws colored flashes, little sparks of red and blue and orange. A white sapphire's dispersion is less than half of that, so its sparkle is silvery, white, gray, clean but quiet. Colorful fire says diamond. A silver glint says sapphire. And there is a second tell that reveals itself over weeks rather than seconds. White sapphire grabs skin, oil, and film and goes dull, then needs cleaning to wake up again. A diamond's optics punch through dirt, which is why a filthy diamond ring still flashes across a room. A colorless stone that keeps going quiet between cleanings is telling you what it is. None of this makes white sapphire a bad stone. At 9 on the hardness scale, it wears beautifully and costs a fraction. The crime is only ever the wrong name at the wrong price. Number 2, Moissanite, the only imposter that fails by being better. And now the strangest test in gemology, because every other fake fails by falling short. Moissanite fails by overshooting. Moissanite has a higher refractive index than diamond and considerably more dispersion, which means more fire. On stones above about 6 millimeters, that turns into what the trade calls the disco ball effect, rainbow flashing so intense it reads as artificial. So the first 10-second test is simply this. If the fire looks too good to be true, too much rainbow, too much everywhere, it probably is. And here's the optical trick I promised at the start, the one that separates 3 pairs in this video. Moissanite is doubly refractive. Light entering it splits in 2. Look through the top of the stone with a loupe, at the edges of the facets on the far side, and on a Moissanite those edges appear doubled, like faint ghost lines. A diamond is singly refractive, and its facet edges stay single and razor sharp. Doubling means Moissanite every time. One respectful footnote. Natural Moissanite was discovered in 1893 in a meteor crater by Henri Moissan, a Nobel laureate, and in nature it is rarer than diamond. The stone in the ring is lab-grown, honest, brilliant, and cheap. It only becomes a problem when someone charges diamond money for it, and now that trick can never be played on you. Number 1. Spinel, the mistake that sat in a crown for 500 years. And here is the summit, the most expensive case of mistaken identity in the history of gemstones. For centuries, every fine red stone was a ruby, because nobody could tell the difference. The Black Prince's ruby in the British Imperial State Crown, 170 carats of it, is a spinel. The Timur ruby, engraved with the names of emperors, is a spinel. Science formally separated the two minerals centuries ago, and the market punished spinel for the confusion ever since. Because here is where the numbers land today. Fine untreated Burmese ruby trades above $100,000 a carat. Fine red spinel from the same ground trades at roughly $3,000 to $10,000. The spinel is rarer in fine sizes. It is almost never treated, while nearly every ruby is heated. It has no cleavage, and it sits at 8 on the hardness scale. Nature made it the equal. The name made it the bargain. That gap is a 500-year-old grudge, still priced into every stone. And the 10-second test is the same Lupe trick, running in reverse. Ruby, like sapphire, is doubly refractive. Spinel is singly refractive. So look through the stone at the far facet edges. If the red stone doubles, it is a ruby. If the edges stay single and clean, you may be holding a spinel. And if the tag says garnet money, you may be holding the best purchase in the building. Because that is the final twist. Spinel gets mistaken downward too, sold as garnet at yard sales and estate lots. And garnet money for a fine spinel is the quiet jackpot of the colored stone world. Now the toolkit, because 3 tests just carried most of this video. The doubling test. A loop. Look through the table at the far facet edges. Doubled edges mean ruby, sapphire, moissanite. Single clean edges mean spinel, garnet, diamond. 1 trick, 3 pairs. The fire test. The color of the sparkle under a point of light. Rainbow fire at diamond scale means diamond. Rainbow fire beyond diamond scale means moissanite. A silvery white glint means sapphire. No fire at all in a green stone means peridot, and colored sparks mean Demantoid. And the 2 test. Too clean, too pale, too cheap, too even, too perfect. Nature is irregular. Whenever a stone is too anything, the tag deserves a second read, the honest note, because this video is not a witch hunt. A lookalike is not a scam. Tsavorite, Spinel, Moissanite, Citrine, every one of them is an honest stone at an honest price, and several of them are genuinely better buys than their famous twins. The only crime anywhere in this video is the wrong name at the wrong price, and these home tests give you suspicion, not verdicts. For any stone where real money is on the table, the answer is the same one this channel gives every week. A good independent jeweler or a proper laboratory report, because 10 seconds with a loop starts the conversation and paper finishes it. Now tell me in the comments what is sitting in your box. The red stone sold as garnet. The topaz that might be citrine. The diamond that sparkles a little too hard. Describe it and I will read every one, because the best finds on this channel always come out of the comments. This channel takes no sponsorships and no paid placements. No brand, no dealer, and no lab pays to be praised or buried here. And that independence is the only reason I can tell you that a stone rarer than ruby sells for 1/10 of ruby's price over a 500-year-old clerical error. If straight answers like this are why you keep coming back, the join button below makes you a member and keeps these breakdowns honest. Same color is never the same stone. 10 seconds with a loop is the difference. I will see you in the next one.